glass of water.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr.
Well, thanks for coming in. Good to have you.
I'm going to take my coat off if that's okay.
It's comfortable.
John, this is my associate Gloria.
Wait a minute, thank you.
Just met.
Okay.
Thanks again for both
Sure.
of you coming in.
We've been doing pretty efficient interviews with the large number of candidates we have, so we'll do about a half an hour.
Okay.
And try to focus on what's, you feel is most important to tell us, and, I'll just invite you to come right at us, tell us why the Star Tribune ought to endorse your candidacy.
Absolutely.
Much of
The Star and
editorial, like that
Tribune
say.
must endorse my candidacy. Now, my name is Frank Nelson Drake. I ran in 2016, and when Keith Ellison withdrew, I realized that I was the most qualified candidate to run for office for this seat. So I'm running in the DFL. And I've grown up in Minneapolis all my life. I'm a fifth generation Minneapolitan. My great-grandfather, B.F. Nelson, was a city pioneer. He founded the B.F. Nelson Roofing and Mining Company. He was on the original board of directors of the Board of Regents, and was a founding member of the Park Board system. I bring that attitude to this race, and I feel that I'm also bringing other issues to this race that are important to our citizens. First of all, I think we should be neutral on any dispute with the federal government. I think there's just so much to be gained. So many of our inner cities are in a basic civil war with the federal government, and I see someone like me being able to bridge this divide and being able to work with the federal government. And I would like to see Minneapolis be the first Renaissance city in America. The president talks about some of these airports across America being in tatters, and I see a lot of money that, again, I feel that one of my platforms is ending these wars. I will no longer fund these foreign wars. We've been in these wars for 17 years. I think a lot of that money can quickly come back to our inner cities. And I'm all about Minneapolis, the 5th CD, and Minnesota first, but I see our inner cities need attention right away. You can go across all of our major cities, Detroit, Chicago, even San Francisco, and they're all stressed out. And so we need a little common sense, and so I think I'm going to be maybe the first of several candidates to come across and bridge the divide.
When you speak of the disputes, city's disputes with the federal government, are you talking largely about the sanctuary movement?
Not so much that.
Other matters?
I'm talking about I guess where could I start? There's just outright hatred for this president in most of our inner cities. And so our constituents don't have to like the man. They don't. Let me insulate them from having to deal with this guy, and let me get the money brought back to Minnesota. And if these other cities want to be in revolt or riot, that's their problem. I want us to remain neutral in any dispute with the federal government. I see nothing to be gained by defying the federal government.
You ran ostensibly, on the same slate with this president, just
2 years
18,
ago.
2 years ago, less than 2 years ago, as a Republican in this race as opponent to Representative Ellison, and now you're in the DFL primary. Take us through that journey, if you will.
Well, John, it's not so much that I ran as a Republican as I ran against the congressman who's withdrawn himself from the race. There was no one else. There was no one else. There was no one else that was going to run against him.
Right.
Okay, and so I say to you, the 5th CD, these are my people. They may not agree with what I wish to accomplish, but we have a commonality in our community, and I will protect and serve the 5th CD. And I'm all about bringing money and fairness back to the 5th CD. Other things that I feel that there should be respect for gay men and lesbian women, and I will no longer give foreign aid to any country that torments the gay lifestyle. That's something that none of the other candidates are talking about. I believe we should offer 6-week vocational training in our inner cities with on-site job recruiters upon completion. So a person can learn plumbing, heating, electrical, solar in 6 weeks, become an apprentice, maybe make 2-3 times the minimum wage, and then have a job where they could work here or anywhere in the country.
I want to quickly return to my previous question, if you will, please, sir, in that, you weren't the only one who, thought at the time that perhaps different or better representation for the 5th District was called upon. And yet you didn't run against Representative Ellison in the DFL primary of 2016. You ran against him as a Republican. So
Sure.
did you, were you a Democrat then who wanted to run against Representative Ellison? Are you a Democrat now, or what's?
I have pledged myself as a Democrat. I went to the DFL endorsing committee as a Democrat, and I say to you now, I am a Democrat. And so when I ran, I received 80,600 votes. And I said to myself, I can win this primary. This primary is the general election. And this will determine the congressman for probably the next 10 years. I'm only going to serve 3 terms. I'm not in this for a life. This isn't life tenure for me. I'm just in it to get through this situation with the current administration. Let us receive our money. We're a successful city. You ran an article about Paris on the Plains. That's where we should be. And I see that I was looking at admiring 35 being built, and it would be an utter shame if this were to just break down into chaos when we're so close to just being a bridge to being successful. And if someone sees Minneapolis being successful, other cities are going to do the same thing.
Well, what is it about Keith Ellison's service that has so put you off that you have now twice wanted to run against him?
I did not run against him this time until he withdrew.
Yeah.
And I was just alert to what was going on. And I got the heads up about 48 hours beforehand that he was going to go for this Attorney General. And I thanked him several times for his service to our community.
But what was it then 2 years ago that made you so unhappy with him that you felt someone needed to oppose him and it should be you?
Well, yeah, I know this is going to ruffle a few feathers, but I didn't think Hillary Clinton was the best candidate for the Democrats.
Who did you support instead?
I did not vote for Hillary Clinton.
So who did you vote for?
When you're in the voting booth, that's a private decision.
Okay.
But how did that lead to your running against Congressman Ellison?
I just knew that if no one challenged him, he would be free to go across the country, and we saw how Bernie Sanders was mistreated, and if they can do that to Bernie Sanders, what are they going to do to the average person?
I'm not disputing this. I'm just trying to get clarification here. How was Bernie Sanders mistreated in your eyes?
He received 61% of Minnesota's caucus voters and did not get the state endorsement.
But Congressman Ellison supported Bernie Sanders.
He claimed he did. He ran the DNC afterwards, but you would think that our two senators would have voted with the state, but they did not. They voted for Mrs. Clinton.
You referenced no more funding of foreign wars. So 2 questions on this. If you could expound on that and how you arrive at that policy position. And then you also began by talking about we should be neutral in any dispute with the federal government. You know, I say this rhetorically because, of course, you know that, you know, this is a federal government policy in terms of who we're at, you know, who we're in combat with, and, you know, the current conflicts in Afghanistan. I assume you're referencing as well as Iraq, or expound on this a bit, please.
Okay, so we've been at these World War I 4 years, the Revolutionary War 4 years, the Civil War 4 years and over, World War II 4 years, Korean conflict 4 years over, Vietnam I think it was 12 years, and now we're into these extended military conflicts with no end in sight. What is our mission statement there? We have no mission statement. Is there any resources there that we're trying to bring forth to America? I don't think so. All it's done is create a refugee crisis in Europe, and it's created, and we took over Libya, which had renounced their nuclear weapons. And I don't see that as, I just don't know, I think we need to get away from that. I think we can be a good neighbor to Israel, and but I think Israel's a pretty strong power. I think they can take care of themselves to some degree.
And what's your view on the subject of the day, which is our relations with NATO nations?
That's an interesting statement because they've all pledged to pay 2%. And the president has made clear that only, 6 of 18 countries are doing that. And so I don't know what to tell you about that. Maybe they make their own military alliance. I mean, it's been, 60 years since World War II ended. I think they're pretty strong. I think they're the second largest economy as a conglomerate. Maybe they need to protect themselves if they.
Do you think we should withdraw from the?
I don't know about that. We have a lot of bases. I think we have some absurd amount. I think it's like 120 or 150 bases around the world. And so, I mean, do we really need to be in all these countries? I think Russia has 3. I'm not saying Russia's a great country or anything like that. I'm just saying they only have 3 bases. So I'm just saying we're in too many places, and so we've gone from being a manufacturing powerhouse, which is what made America great, to being